Libra, welcome to your hopes, fears, and reality spread. I would like to apologize as I have fallen off of my weekly posting schedule, and apologize for the future as I will be posting sporadically for the next month or so as I desperately try to relocate. Wish me luck. Here we go. Ooh, that's in your hopes? Dear Lord, Libra. So, for those of you new to my channel, if you've never seen this spread before, we have our hopes, we have our fears, and we have our reality. Please keep in mind that hopes and fears are internal. It is just your perception. This is what's actually going on. And then we'll pull a few more cards to see where we need to go, and hopefully we'll find the direction that you need to head in. Because the purpose of this is to look at your inner self and look at the outer world and then decide what changes you need to make. With that being said, this is your hopes. It's not great. So, in this particular deck, see, the threes are all about expansion. They're tied with the energy of the Empress. But in this particular deck, the threes here who come together for celebration, they kind of look like the mean girls, don't they? Like the girls who are like, you can't sit at this table. You know what I mean? And then you have this card here, which some people call it the Dark Night of the Soul. Some people call the Hangman the Dark Night of the Soul as well. But this is the type of pain and anxiety that like keeps you up at night, right? So what I'm getting from these two together, specifically in your hopes, is it's like you're hoping to let go of those interfering third-party energies that are literally put in place just to exclude you. Does that make sense? It's kind of like you're hoping to let go of the anxieties that are caused by people who you once thought were working for your own good, who you are now realizing are no good for you. Does that make sense? And I'm sorry, it's a tough thing to realize that people who were once your friends or people who you went to for counsel gave you bad advice or weren't working for your highest good. And they themselves may not have realized it. You know, they may not have been being malicious for malicious sake. They just may have been giving you the information they thought was correct. And when you followed that information, it turned out not to be. Huh. So now, because you followed so much crazy advice, this intuition that you have and this knowing the right thing to do is something that causes you anxiety. So it's almost like you aren't trusting your own intuition because of this. The reality of the situation is that there is appraisal and teamwork that is happening, but you don't feel like you can count on the people who used to lead you. So if this is vocational, it's almost like you're trying to learn to trust your own intuition rather than the established leadership that you have been following. Okay, so that's if this is vocational. If this is more of a personal relationship, like a friend, a family member, or maybe even a lover, you might be reappraising the situation and recognize that you were following the wrong path for so long. It's hard for you to turn back around and retrace your steps by yourself. It almost feels, honestly, Libra, here's what it feels like. It feels like you're coming out of codependency. A certain form of codependency, because you're realizing that your truth makes more sense than somebody else's truth. But it's hard for you to trust your own intuition because there's so many possibilities, and it was much easier for you just to go to somebody else's guidance than it was for you to make up your own mind. And that is the lesson that you're learning right now. That is what you're going inside yourself to figure out. Hmm. You know, it's funny because I said that the Nine of Swords, some people call that the dark night of the soul, and then some people call the Hangman the dark side, the dark night of the soul, and the Hangman came up in the inverse. So basically, you've taken some time to reflect on what has happened, on what you've gained and what you've lost, and you're staring some painful truths. Like you're really looking at some painful truths right now. It's not easy for you to go inside yourself and do what you did. And you're recognizing now that you don't want to change your own perception and that you're not willing to sacrifice your own perception anymore. But there's also no passion to push forward when you recognize that you're the sole person who is responsible for the framework of not only yourself, but another energy that's relying on you. There is someone or something, or maybe even a group of people that require you to carve out a path for them. And you're thinking to yourself, am I really the right person for the job? Because for some time, I listened to everybody else to try and figure out how to do this. And it led me to a position that I'm unhappy with. Now I have to find that strength and resilience within myself. And other people are going to follow me down this path. If you're not trusting your intuition, it's going to be very difficult for you to lead other people down the path. The only thing you know is the path that you were heading down isn't the right one for you. You don't know if it's the right one for anybody else. And that's where the anxiety comes from. If you were the one taking this path by yourself, you'd be okay making that decision. You'd just be like, all right, fine, it's my thing. I'll deal with the consequences. But in this particular case, the consequences affect more than just you. That's why you fear the intuition. Like I said, you're coming out of a time of codependency in which you had to rely on other people to get where you are. Now that you're where you are, you have to make choices. And some people will follow you down this new path. That's where the anxiety comes from. So now is the time to go within and figure out, do I want to do what's best for me? Or do I want to do what's best for the group? Or is that group just you and one other person? So, there are consequences to be had no matter what path we go down. Would you rather deal with consequences of your own actions or the consequences of other people's actions? And do you want people to deal with the consequences of your actions? Because it seems to me like some of those questions are unavoidable if you want to figure out the new direction to go in. Libra, again, this is one of those readings that leaves you with more questions than answers, but I find that those are some of the best readings there are. Because it's up to you to interpret this for your highest good. And to really, really contemplate which direction you need to go. So focus on you and what's good for you. And if other people choose to follow, they'll learn their own lessons the same way you did. You chose to follow somebody or something or a group that led you in a particular direction, and eventually you decided that wasn't the way you wanted to go anymore. So if somebody follows you, it's kind of up to them to decide how far they want to follow you down that path. So what I would focus on is what feels right to you. Between both your heart and your head, what's going to give you faith in your intuition again? Start there, and then point the compass in the direction that you want to go. I hope you found a message that serves you your highest good, and I'll see you guys next time.